Tyree Nicholas and Anthony Lowe murdered at the hands of police officers. How exactly does this affect Black people everywhere? Well, unfortunately, there is nothing new happening in the States, and Black people are still being murdered at the hands of police officers. And I use the word murdered because I feel like too often we try to minimize what has happened. In all actuality, it is nothing but murder in plain sight. Call it like it is. Regardless of how the situation transpired, these cops are literally out here murdering Black people. And we need to say exactly what it is, and it's murder, nothing else but. And not only is it murder, but it is happening in the forefront for everyone to see. We all literally have front row seats to see the murder and lynching, common day lynching of Black people happening. Tyree Nicholas is a Black man who came into contact with police officers in Memphis, Tennessee. Now, allegedly, Tyre Nicholas fled the scene and then police initiated a chase. They eventually ended up apprehending him, and it turned into a beating. And he was literally beaten to death by these 5 Black officers, which he later passed away, succumbing to his injuries in the hospital. Now, normally when situations like this arise between officers and citizens, they're put on leave until further investigation is conducted to determine the outcome. That's how they typically have been handling these situations between white officers and Black American citizens. Now, in this situation with these 5 Black officers, they immediately fired them. Okay, it wasn't a thought about it. It wasn't a leave with pay. It wasn't a dance around it. They automatically were terminated from their position. And rightfully so. I'm not mad at the fact that they were terminated because they thought that they were the others. And so the others then in turn helped them to realize that you're just another Black person, just like this man was that you murdered when they fired y'all. These 5 Black officers, and for them to be Black on top of it, I don't know why these officers feel like because they in blue that their color is anything else other than brown, just like everyone else. But they somehow feel that just because they are wearing blue, it makes them special. And in this situation, these 5 Black officers quickly realized that it doesn't matter whether you're wearing blue. You are still looked at as another just Black person with a title. And a title that they can just snatch away whenever they feel like it. So congratulations to the 5 officers for doing exactly what the police force wanted you to do, and that's being a house nigga and taking out one of your brothers. So now fast forward and let's get into the story about Anthony Lowe. Now, Anthony Lowe was an African-American male who suffered from a double leg amputation. This tragic event unfolded in Los Angeles, California, in an area known as Huntington Park. As Anthony Lowe proceeded to get out of his wheelchair on his limbs to run away from LAPD, they ultimately raised their guns, shooting him in the back and ultimately murdering him. When you watch the videos of what transpired between Anthony Lowe and the 2 white officers who were officers in Huntington, you see that Anthony Lowe at one point gets out of his wheelchair, and begins to run away. Now, I don't even understand how these officers were able to make allegations stating that Anthony Lowe was an imminent threat to them and that they were in fear of their lives, when it was kind of the other way around, being that Anthony Lowe was actually fleeing from them when you watch the video. You don't see the officers running. You see Anthony Lowe running as if he was running for his life. And then ultimately, he's gunned down and murdered by these 2 white police officers. Now, this is, like I said, a reoccurring story that has been happening over and over and over again, stemming from George Floyd, Anthony Garner, Trayvon Martin, the list goes on. It has been happening repeatedly. And so these 2 officers, unlike the 5 Black officers that were immediately terminated, these 2 white officers were put on leave while they investigate the situation. Does this surprise y'all? Because it doesn't surprise me at all. I just want to say, it does not surprise me at all that these white officers were put on leave. They're white. They're the others. And they just made things so very, very clear. I don't know, as Black people, what it's going to take for us to wake up and realize that we are just looked at like another Black person with no identity, with no value to society. That is how we are viewed. It doesn't matter if you feel like you hold a public title. It doesn't matter of what position you hold. They don't care about none of that. At the end of the day, you are a Black person. That's all they see is the color of your skin. And when they see that you are a Black person, you become valueless in their eyes. You become worthless. You become meaningless. You become a nothing, a nobody. And it doesn't matter the title that you hold. So for these people these Black people sitting in high places on their high horse, feeling like they've accomplished something and they've gotten somewhere in life because they are amongst the others in certain positions, you can never forget what you are, and that's Black. And any moment that they are given to remind you of that, oh, they have no problem doing just that. So here you have it. Now, what does this all mean for Black people everywhere? Right? Because we have one situation that occurred in Tennessee. We have another situation that occurred in Huntington. And you, as a Black person, may not have any direct ties to either one of these states. You might not even be in the same country. You might be clear across the country and in a whole nother environment, atmosphere. But how does this affect you is what you have to ask yourself. I think that we have to begin to realize that when your brother is affected, when your sister is affected by any circumstance, it directly affects you. Why? Because you are Black just like they are, which means that discrimination can happen to you at any given moment the same way that it has happened for these two individuals who were murdered by these police officers. The only way that we will matter in society is when we realize that we matter in society. As long as we continue to work against each other and look at each other like, that ain't my situation. Oh, that was so sad. You seen that man get killed by them Tennessee officers, or you seen that man get murdered over there in Huntington? And we treat it as if it's just another story trending in the news. But what we need to wake up and understand is that that same story could be you. At any given moment, that same story could be one of your loved ones, one of your siblings, one of your children. So it's not just for us, it's not just another story in the news. It can become you. And then what happens in these situations, they always have the family member or some other type of Black, leader who's supposed to represent the Black people and fighting for Black people rights, stand up at a podium on any given news platform instructing Black people to stand down and do nothing, instructing you to remain voiceless. And the number one line that we always hear is, oh, so-and-so wouldn't want this to happen. If it was so-and-so, they wouldn't want to see it. They wouldn't want to see any violence erupting from this situation. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying go out there in them streets and be violent because of what is transpiring. That is not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that we need to wake up and we need to begin to come together. It's not about violence. It's not about fighting them. It's about getting out of that country, coming back to Africa, helping to build up our own territory. Why you want to be over there in the white man's land when you have your very own land that you could be cultivating and building up? And these same situations and scenarios will continue to happen. Listen, the fight has been going on for decades, okay? We are in 2023 and it still continues. There's nothing that's going to change. They're never going to. I don't care if you fight until you blue in the face. I don't care if you burn up every building, every mansion, every officer you see. I don't care if you shoot everybody, every white American that you feel is racist. It is not going to change the fact that you are looked at as valueless in that system. So no matter how much you raise your voice, no matter how much you fight, no matter how much you protest, no matter how much you try to destroy every restaurant and business establishment that you possibly can, it's not going to change the situation, because guess what? America was never built with the black man in mind. That perception of reality is never going to change. And you are only living in an illusion the longer you stay in that state of mind thinking that you can make a difference. It's time to wake up. It's time to wake up. And I know some people gonna come under this post like, Melody, you crazy, what you talking about? I ain't leaving. My ancestors built this land. Which is very true. Yes, your ancestors built that land by force. By force, they built a land that was never created with them in mind. So you're just going to stay in that mindset that because your ancestors was there and they helped to build it up, that you're going to stay there? The longer that you keep that mentality, the longer that we stay in the current predicament that we are in, which is at the bottom of the barrel, because you're forever going to be in America succumbing to all their efforts to continue to destroy the black person. But this is just my own opinion. I mean, you know, everybody has one and everybody is entitled to one. And I'm curious to know what y'all have to say. So go ahead and drop a comment, because I'm open for conversation. And what I see and what I foresee is that nothing is going to change, because in their eyes, you're black. Same with government leaders who are in these high positions selling out their own black people right here in Africa. You're keeping your people impoverished. You're keeping them poor. You're keeping the economy bad just because it's helping to put money in your pocket and helping you to get to a better position in life for yourself and your family, but you don't care about your brother and your sister. You're literally selling out your race of people for the others. I mean, we all got to face judgment. We all have to face the Father, to be held accountable for what we have done in this world, in this life. And so who am I to judge? I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to give a message that we have to do better as black people. We have to learn to begin to come together as black people. And so these situations with these individuals being murdered by these officers directly affects black people everywhere, because these men are a direct reflection of you. So if we can just for 1 minute put aside that, oh, I'm Jamaican, oh, I'm African, I'm African American, I'm Haitian, and consider that at the end of the day, we all hold the same color and all of these different titles. I'm black, I'm an African American, I'm a Hebrew Israelite, I'm this, I'm that. It's just another effort to continuously keep us divided as a people, because we're so busy running to claim titles, running to claim identities, running to claim these different ethnicities, that we don't even stop and realize, like, at the end of the day, I'm just brown. I'm black at the end of the day. No title needed, no title necessary. When you wake up to that reality, I believe that we can do a whole lot as a people. We can get somewhere so very far. But it's up to us. And, you know, I've been hearing other people say the same exact thing. It is up to us to change the narrative. It is up to us to do something different. Now, having a prominent black figure stand up, demanding that other black citizens relax and basically do nothing about what has transpired, or even going as far as to having one of the family members of the deceased stand up and give a long, heartfelt speech about how the person wouldn't want to see any violence come from the situation, and that's not who they are. Now, this is a story that plays over and over again, and it's recited lines written by the police force or whoever it may be, basically keeping black people in order, right? Just sit back, allow us to do what we want to do, and do not respond. This is the same exact thing that they used to do with slaves on a plantation. They would use other black slaves to stand up and constantly preach on how to obey your masters. When you getting whipped, obey your masters. When you getting hung in trees, obey your masters. They used our same brother against us to stand up and keep us in line. I'm telling you, this is nothing new. I don't know why many can't see that nothing has changed. The only thing that has changed is the date and the year. That is it. The others are still up to their same tactics of doing whatever it is that they want to do to brown-skinned people, and then using another brown-skinned person to keep the other brown-skinned people in line. Using the Bible and standing up, quoting scriptures from the Bible, demanding that slaves follow the Bible. Be fearful of this Bible. Obey your master. It's the same thing in 2023, still happening. Using other prominent black figures to stand up and tell black people all over the world, stay in line, stay in your place. Using even the family members, stay in line, stay in your place. And guess what? They stand up and they do it. Why? Because they're receiving a paycheck. These family members get cut deals after these deaths have occurred. And a part of the deal is we need you to stand in the public eye and we need you to say this on camera. Because we got to keep these black people in check. So we're willing to give you X amount of dollars, but as a part of this agreement to give you X amount of dollars, this is what we need you to say. To the prominent black figures, it's the same. We're paying you. You're getting a paycheck. This is what we need you to say. You need to stand up and you need to keep these black people in check. Continue to be our house nigga. And, don't watch this with your children, because I don't want them to hear this terminology coming from my mouth today. But that is the terminology that they use when they reference us. So can I just be blatant for a moment? Can I be very transparent in this video today? Nothing has changed. We still have house niggas. So the question is, are you going to be a field nigga? Because the field niggas ain't play. They was doing whatever it took to get their freedom, to fight back, to resist what the others was trying to do to them. They fought back, and it was not always with violence. Sometimes it called for that. Other times it did not. So are you going to be that field nigga that's willing to stand up and make a change for yourself? And in my perception of change is getting out of America. I'm just going to be very clear about that. Getting out of America and coming back to invest here in Africa, whatever country you so choose. But are you going to do that? Or are you going to continue to be that house nigga with a silent whip upon your back? Always having one over your head. Controlling you with a paycheck. Controlling you with a job title. In the United States of America, you are the minority, not the majority. But guess what? Here in Africa, you are the majority and not the minority. It's time to get out of America. Harriet Tubman once said, I would have freed 1,000 more slaves if only they knew that they were slaves. That statement is powerful. Let me know how you feel. Drop a comment. Let's start a conversation. Where do we go from here, and what do we do next as black people, brown-skinned people? Where do we go from here? I'm Melody. This is Just Blog. And until next time, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so every time I upload, you are made aware.